In this episode of the Military for Mindset Business podcast, I'm talking with the amazing Hayley Boswell, who is the founder of Defence Kidz. Now, what started as a simple little letter to dad has now turned into a global phenomenon. Amazing characters, amazing books, hopefully a animated cartoon one day, but stick around and have a listen to a really great story about what passion and purpose can deliver in business. Hayley Boswell, the founder of Defence Kidz, coming up. G'day everybody, welcome to another episode of the Military Mindset for Business podcast. I'm Pete Liston, and this is the podcast for the veteran business community. Now today I've got an amazing ambassador for defence families, and particularly a little segment of the community that, whilst being little, isn't so little, but our kids and Defence Kidz. And so today I'm talking to the one and only Hayley Boswell.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Hayley, we've known each other for a couple of years. We sort of, birds of a feather flock together in terms of we cross paths here and we cross paths there. I'm really looking forward to learning more about you and your story and how you got involved in defence, but really the super important work that you're leaning forward to with Defence Kidz. But as we kick off, where did you grow up? Always love to know where people grew up in this great land of ours.
Adelaide. So I grew up in Adelaide, but specifically in Elizabeth, so northern suburbs.
And that's where the RAF base is, isn't it? An army base out there?
Yeah. Edinburgh is out there, so
Yeah.
literally about 5 minutes from Edinburgh. So so that was my local.
So is that like, people like grew up in towns will just get, infused with the military life early years. Growing up in the Adelaide burbs, is there much of a connection to the base out there?
Yeah, I think there is. We see a lot of members in uniform walking around our local, so our local
Yeah.
shopping centres and things like that. So I think it's something you see and you feel as part of your everyday to day life, to be quite honest.
Or maybe seeing all of those Raffis and AJs in uniform is a reason you end up with a Navy guy one day. But before we get into your connection with the military, tell us about, have you always been an Adelaide girl? What was your career, or tell us about young Hayley.
Young Hayley. So, as I said, I grew up in Elizabeth, and I went to Craigmore High School out there. And then I went to, well, actually, I'll start with that's where I met my partner. So we were 14, and he was my instant love. From the
What?
from the minute he walked into our school, I knew that he was my person.
New kid
Um,
crush.
he was my crush, and yeah, and I always adored him from the minute. He didn't even need to speak, and I just knew he was my person.
Oh
So
wow, what a cool
yes,
story!
yeah.
And
So I met him when I was
even though you were sort of seeing military people in the community, this boy was it.
He was it. He was it. And it must have been, well, maybe deep down it always, yeah, look, I love the uniform, let's be honest, it's quite
Yeah,
attractive, but I think he had family that was in the military
yeah,
as well, and I didn't necessarily know that actually, and I had family in the military, and he didn't know that either. So it's quite interesting that our background was military focused, and we had no idea. So I think that's probably those suburbs down there. My dad was he served in the army, so we came when we he got out. He moved into Elizabeth area, which was surrounded by army at that stage. So he probably felt quite familiar. But yeah, from when we met, best friends. I went to uni and did a law degree.
yep.
And so I did that for about 10 years. I loved it. And this time, Brad had left me, which, becomes all too common, I think, in the
Yeah.
military life, people coming and going. And he joined. And at that stage, we didn't have Facebook. So he left me. I was devastated. I hated him, and then what would happen was he would come back every 12 months in his uniform, of course, come and visit me at Foodland when I was working on the checkouts,
Yeah.
and send my world into a spiral every time.
Stop it. You're
And
hot under the collar.
oh, I
Is
was
your boys
hot. And
back?
yeah, the boys back, and everyone would literally, and he'd walk out and I would be devastated. And every single checkout girl would come up to me like, "Can you, who's that? Is he single?" And I would like, that's Bradley. He's leaving again, you know. So yeah, so we just kept in contact, and I did my law degree and had a big life, and he had his life, and then about 10 years ago we came back together, and then I feel like it was 5 minutes later we had two children. So
Wow.
it was pretty quick from when we reconnected at a regurgitator concert of all things, really.
In downtown Adelaide, was it the concert?
Yeah, I was at the Gov. It's yeah. So,
So
oh, you don't know the Gov. The Gov's like a
I don't know the
local
guy.
pub that's like a music hardcore scene that's just amazing. So yeah, we reconnected there, and history started.
Oh, meant to be.
Meant to be. Yeah.
So how I'm not trying to pry about how old you are, but when did you, like, 10 years apart roughly before you got
Yeah,
back
about
together?
10. I can tell you how old I am. That's fine. So I'm 43. So my maths is terrible. This is why I went into law. I was like, what? Why do you ask me questions for on maths, Pete? Um, yeah. So I think it was about 10 years, and then he was in my life, out of my life, and then yeah, we had about 10 years apart, probably a little bit more. Yeah, and then we've been together about 10 years now. So coming up 10 years, I think. I think I'm up to my anniversary actually.
So you mentioned before, I think you said did 20 something years in the Navy
He served for 24 years in the
to
Navy.
24
Yeah.
years, and he's been out a couple. So just again, let's not, count each other's maths too much, but basically you spent 10, 15 years as a Navy, defense partner. Did you get pulled around the country, or was there a lot of postings in that time?
So our we were lucky. So our life was pretty stable.
Yep.
And so I was in Adelaide. He was based here. So he was here for a while. And then we got separated by COVID. So
Yep.
as many people can relate to. So we had a period where for 3 months we were separated and weren't able to see each other, which was pretty horrendous, especially
Well,
when
is
you're
that
just.
because he had like military work to do, or was he posted somewhere else, or on an exercise?
No, so he literally was based in Sydney,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
working
yeah.
on HMS Sydney. And what had happened was at that time, there was an executive decision that military families weren't to have reunification visits,
Yeah, right.
because
Wow.
they didn't want it to look terrible to the community that we were, privileged and, spending time over the borders and things like that.
I like that
Um,
word privileged, with
yeah,
inverted commas, is like because you're at this time you're living, I imagine married. It used to be called married separated, wasn't it? Like, but
yeah,
basically you're in Adelaide and
MWDU.
he's,
Yeah.
yeah, MWDU. So you're in Adelaide with the kids, and he's in Sydney doing the ship time and going to sea. And when the ship's not at sea, he's at Cuttable there.
Yeah, so he was literally just locked up in a hotel, isolated. The most of the pubs were closed down. Sydney was vacant.
Yeah.
So it was actually really difficult, I think, during that time for military families, and
Yeah.
military members, because there was so much isolation. I mean, it was difficult for everybody, but we couldn't really, not until the very end, could we get exemptions to visit.
Yeah.
So while still the football players' wives were traveling all around the country,
Yeah.
military families were separated. So it was not that I'm triggered by that. I definitely am. But it's interesting that was that was the norm for families at that time.
Yeah, I never knew that. And like,
Mm,
it's not as if there's enough separation in the regular routine in life, whether it be
yeah.
ships going to sea, or, planes flying wherever they go, or, army guys going out bush, that they just had to, rub a little salt there. Um, but where in your career, what kind of law were you studying? Oh, sorry, practicing.
Practicing. So I did a few different areas. So I started off in criminal law because I
Yep.
think that was the juicy stuff, and it was always really interesting to me to understand the psyche of criminal offenders and why they commit crime. Even now, I still am that person watching, all those
True crime
documentaries.
podcast.
Oh, it's amazing. It's so interesting. I find it so interesting. So that I started in that area, and after a while you kind of get sick of, people committing crimes.
Yeah.
And then I moved into workers' compensation because I really wanted to help workers who had been injured at workplace. So I did that for a while, and then that led me into human rights. So I specialized in representing women who had been abused in the workplace or had been discriminated against. And that was really fulfilling. I really love that. Plus, it's great money, and it's always good at the end when you can get victims a big chunk of money. So
Yeah.
it was real fulfilling work, good for justice rather than, letting crims back out on the streets, I
So
guess.
you've gone from one side to the other, and
Yeah. Yeah,
from helping the
literally.
crims get away with things to actually fighting for people. Oh, you're
Well,
fighting
it's
for people
interesting.
both sides.
Well, it's interesting because with criminals, if you take a, and I always say this is so interesting because if you take a look back through their file from where they started, there's always that they're victims too. There's
Yeah,
always a starting point of which changed their lives into,
yeah,
this changing the trajectory. So it's, I think that I have this real unique view on it, but I think they're victims too.
yeah,
But they've just been, a wrong path and they've just kept going, unfortunately. So,
yeah. You got to walk in someone's shoes before you can judge where they've come from. And I've seen a couple of episodes of Lincoln Lawyer, so
yeah, I love that.
I
Yeah.
know boats. uh, this is one thing I'm always interested about is this is going to sound really sort of strange, but the untapped potential of the defense partner community,
Mm,
because to say probably is a terrible cliche. A lot of defense personnel are high achievers, and regardless of what rank or service you're in, and they sort of thrusters, and I think they do attract high achieving partners as well. A lot of the time, but in your what have you seen in the partner space about that lack of potential or the lack of dare I even say productivity in terms of the partner space being able to be fully utilized in terms of your strengths? You're a lawyer.
mm. Yeah, look, I think it's a really big missed opportunity for employers,
Mm,
to be quite honest. There's a perception out there that we're going to move every 5 minutes, and that so where there's no point in taking on a partner who for current serving because they're going to move away in 5 minutes. And you're going to have to retrain another person.
yep,
That couldn't be further from the truth. And a lot of the time we do stay in location. We're not always moving with the family, so there is that stigma around it, but also they're educated, they're amazing women
yeah,
who can multitask, like honestly, through the best of them. Like the way that they manage a family, they raise children, plus they're working full time, part time, they're working, and they're managing a whole household whilst the member is away, and the stress that comes with that.
yep,
Who wouldn't want to employ a military spouse? I would definitely take them.
yeah. The character of the person, and the other thing too is, if we can empower, partners and spouses as much as possible, it's one of the things I'm always interested in, self-employment for partners and spouses to have a relocatable career. Like, let's be honest, I guess it's like probably 80, 90% women partner spouses. But if we can keep, partners and spouses empowered and independent and have career paths, ultimately, hopefully it'll lead to less separations.
And
Happy
better
wife, happy life.
capability,
That's what I
you
mean. This
know?
is actually, was
Yeah.
how many people leave defense because their family's on the line. And, if we can help focus on supporting, that pivotal part of the family, thinking of it as a capability driver to keep people in defense, happy wife, happy life, or happy husband, happy life. Um, but fundamentally keeping more kids with their families together. People separate and
Well,
it's just part of life, but
absolutely. Absolutely. And look, that's the reason that my partner ended up transitioning out. I
yeah,
mean, yes, he had medicals,
yep,
absolutely. Find a veteran who doesn't.
yeah,
But had medicals and that's fine. But ultimately, he wanted to spend more time with his family, and he
yeah,
knew that by him staying in that he was going to get less time. Now he's still continued on into shipbuilding, so he's still very much a part of the community,
yeah,
and still giving back to capability, but now gets time to spend with his family. So I
yep,
think there needs to be some things to look, there needs to really be some different ways to be, I guess, looking at that, because we need to be keeping families together. Absolutely. Of course,
yeah,
capability is number one. Of course it is. But there are ways that we can do it. We
yeah.
need to be more innovative, I think.
How many times did he go away to sea, like on a deployment? Like it's different because in the army, we do like the operations, like you do Afghanistan or Timor or Solomons or Iraq or whatever, your turn is. But ship sail. That's the whole point of what they do, So how many times did, your family have that when, your husband's gone away for whatever months on end?
Look, honestly, his was very low level,
Yep.
because his was mostly fixing the ships here.
Ah, got it. Yep.
So there was a lot of testing and in and out all the time. So there was a lot of that. But as far as like the deployments on the Anzacs and the destroyers internationally, he didn't do any of those when we were
Yep.
together. But prior to us like being together, he was doing patrol boats. So
Got it.
his was a lot of the keeping the water safe, refugee work,
Ah, yeah.
which is, yeah, so it's a different sort of, it's obviously more coastal, and they do rotations, so they go in and out. They might be out for 6 weeks, in for two, sort of thing. So they do
Yeah.
different rotations. Still, it definitely has an impact on the family, but it's probably it depends on, I guess, what your family's preference is, right? Because some families prefer that they go away from 3 months and then they've got their period of time and then they come back and they've got quality time when they're here.
Yeah.
Whereas some other families like, the short in and out trips, because, it means they're home more often. So it just depends on the family, really.
So let's talk about this fantastic little thing called Defence Kids. Well, not so little anymore. Where was well, obviously your own children, where's the inspiration for this, the light bulb that went off, to really start this being a thing?
So that was when I had my first little girl. So Evie, when Evie was only little, she probably would have been about 3 to 6 months old. She was pretty young, and it was in the middle of the night, and I was feeding her, and I had this moment of Brad's going to go away soon, and how do we maintain that connection even though he's away? What does that look like? And I didn't really have many other spouses at that time that I could turn to and ask those questions, like, how do you keep in contact? How do you keep that relationship, secure and safe? And so I started researching on my phone,
Yep.
and I couldn't really find any resources that were appropriate for little girls. And so I just thought, well, I'll just create a little book. And it can, it will be something that it's between them and, them, and that they can read it, and she can read it when he's away, or he can read it to her, and it will keep their relationship, I guess, solid and secure. So that's sort of where the first one came from. And that was for Brad's first Father's Day.
Yep.
So that's sort of where it started. And then he was so excited about the book and put on his private Facebook page and said, "Oh, how good is this, book? How lovely is it? It's so sweet." And we had like 200 messages saying, "Where do we buy it?" So
Oh,
that's where
wow.
it started. Yeah.
The, tell us what Defence Kids is for anyone that doesn't know.
Yeah, so Defence Kidz is a non-for-profit charity, and we support and empower military children all over Australia. But what we also do is we support military families from Australia that are international. So we actually have a few that we're supporting in America at the moment.
Brilliant.
So we support military families, and specifically with a focus on children. So that could include things like, at the moment we've got deployment packs that we've been sending all over Australia that have been it's made me it's busy. It's been busy. And so we've been sending deployment packs for children whose parents are deployed. And we've also got families days that we have, which is lovely. We've got one. I haven't released this anywhere, so you're the first person to hear about it. But we've got one in November this year in Adelaide,
Oh,
which will be
wow.
lovely. From a grant from RAA, which was absolutely amazing. So we've got sort of these really cool initiatives. We've got postcards that we've created, so that they can write to each other and keep connected.
Oh,
And
so
we've got,
sorry, the kids you can create like pen pal networks with the kids as well.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we've gone back to, how do you keep connected, and the most easiest way to do that. And I think writing, to be honest, isn't a really easy way to do it. And so that's one of the initiatives that we've created, which has been really popular. And we've got children to design postcards, so we're going to be releasing those, which are really cute. We've obviously got our children's books, so we've now distributed over 18,000 of our books.
Wow.
So they've been really popular. Yeah, and look, it just shows the need and the gap is there.
Yeah.
That we've been able to fill, which is fantastic. We've just received some further funding for some further books, which is going to be amazing. So we've got 3 books in creation at the moment. And that's with a veteran spouse writing them and illustrating. So that's really exciting. So one of them's around deployments, one of them's around transitions and military identity, and one of
Yep.
them's around commemorative events. So we
I,
have a
th-
lot.
I was actually quite chuffed. I was in Canberra a couple of weeks ago, and I did go to the War Memorial, and I saw them in the shop there, which was great. As soon as you walk in the door on the left, so it's great that they're, sitting there. Um, where did these amazing like characters come from? So you got to check it out. If anyone's listening, you got to check out Defence Kids. That's kidz.com.au. The characters are like pretty cool. Who drew them or illustrated them in the first place?
So they were illustrated by a military spouse called Nicole Mackenzie.
Yep.
So she creates all of our characters. She used to work for Disney and Pixar, which is why they're
Oh
so
wow.
phenomenal.
Because
Yeah,
these are I don't know. I'm not trying to relate them to Blue, but they are serious characters in terms of
yeah,
the illustrative quality. I'm sort of stretching my artistic language here,
yeah,
but you've got Blanca from Navy,
yeah.
Duck from Air Force, Reggie the AJ. Who else we got? We got Kale and Andy.
Bianca. Yeah. So
So
I mean, look, and they're relatable, and it's really interesting. So children have attached, obviously, their character to obviously a family member, and they're
yep,
really relating to them. And they wear their t-shirts, and so we get sent quite often pictures of children out, wearing our Defence Kids t-shirts, and it's just what we're doing is we're creating a community of military children where they can be really, really proud of service and proud of their family. So it's about creating that bigger identity to make them, when they go into a new school or when they move into a different situation, that they're proud of who they are. And, and because we're proud of them, right? Like
yeah.
they go through a lot. They are constantly moving schools. Parents are in and out all the time. They have challenges. And so for us, it's about how do we make these kids feel safe and secure all the time? And that's by empowering them to make sure that, they've got a strong identity. So that's what we're doing.
So the first couple of books were the My Dad series.
Yeah.
My dad's in the army, Navy, Air Force, and then mum. Now mum's in
Yeah.
there as well. But where like this animation piece that you got, I remember chatting to you years ago. Like the characters have certainly changed or evolved from the original ones. Who did that first set of illustrations?
So just with those ones, that was just a contractor through Fiverr.
Okay.
So literally I just got a contractor through Fiverr and said, can you just help me do this? Because I didn't think it was going to go
Yeah.
anywhere. So I just thought, oh, we'll just, do it for dad on the side. Honestly, my first book cost me $200 to make.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's come far.
But this next part of Defense Kids, they're a proper crew now.
They're a crew.
They're a
They're
crew.
a family.
What's happening with the animation or the cartoons coming out?
So we're exploring ways to be who to partner with really to be able to
Yep.
get these to the next stage. So we've had lots and lots of conversations. I think for us, it's about finding the right fit and
Yeah.
making sure that they're value aligned. Because with us, I mean, look, we could take this to anybody and start pitching and say, look, these are our characters. This is who we are. Let's get this moving. But we want to make sure that they understand military life. We want to understand, we want to make sure that they understand our values. Because
Yeah.
for us, this animation is not a money making exercise. And I want to make that really clear. This is about making sure that children see representation on TV that is them. And currently
Mm.
they don't have that. So we need to make sure that we're partnering with the right people. And I think we've been really, really careful on who we do partner with for that reason, because we want to make sure that their intentions are the same as our intentions.
I'll come back to that shortly and finding the right partner, but this is now more than just a side hustle or a side gig for
Yeah,
you. You're now this is your world. This is your full-time thing.
this is my world. Yeah.
How long have you been doing it full time for?
How long? Maybe 3 years, I think. 3 years now. So it feels like forever, and it feels like this is where I've always supposed to be. So I feel like I've found my purpose, like this
Yep.
is it. So
Um, there's one cartoon, and I'm stretching my memory here. Little J and Big Cuz.
Yeah,
Yeah, do you know that one?
I do. Yeah, so
I
that
sort
was
of
Eddie Betts's one.
was it? Well, I
Yeah.
sort of feel it's a similar kind of thing, you know. And to be honest, I didn't mind it. I thought that was a pretty cool cartoon, actually, about Aboriginal kids, Indigenous kids, and their crew. But I sort of feel that this has got the same kind of vibe, or what it
Yeah.
could be looking like in a mature model, is that not just defence kids see who they are on TV, but other kids in the community understanding what military life is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one aspect of, the importance of our work is it's not just about supporting, the military families, even though that's our core objective. It's actually about educating the wider community to make sure that they understand who military children are too. And, that creates empathy in the community, creates understanding. So, when you have children move into a new school, they can easily be, oh, you're that defense kid. Oh, cool. Okay. Like you must have moved
Yeah,
around. Let's talk, let's play. Makes their transition easier.
I just love this. What's hot under the TV show? Won't somebody think of the children?
Yeah,
But well, I can't remember what that's off. But
that's The
you know,
Simpsons.
The Simpsons.
Yeah.
But actually having a just an indulgent little focus on them. Like I just think about I transitioned out just as my boys were like maybe 2 and 4 or 2 and 5, so I never had to do the moving around. Well, having said that though, I have lived in about 7 different houses in the 9 years that have been alive. I still just bad trait from me, but I think it's just such a wonderful little program just to focus and indulge them for being the beautiful little creatures they are. Where is next with this? So you've started off with a little concept which was basically like a letter to dad. It led to the first series of books. Now you're doing the deployment packs. So what do the deployment packs have in them?
So the deployment pack, so we've been fortunate to have weighted koalas given to us, donated to our charity. So we've been putting those in them, which are beautiful. So they're helping children fall asleep at night and calming them down. They are absolutely phenomenal. We only have so many of them though, and there's a big request and list. So we're getting through that, but they're included in it. There's also the postcards. We also have in it a children's book, depending on the age. So it depends on the age to what we put in. So some of them have the Defence Kids t-shirts in them, stickers, key rings and things like that. So they have, and obviously the postcards, but they also have a personalised letter to them saying about how amazing they are and thank you for their service, which I think
Yeah.
is really important. So that's sort of the main, oh, and the graphic novel goes in for the older children that we've got as well. So we've got a bit of an array for them, but they've been extremely popular. So we've sent out over 100 deployment packs now. So it's just me packing them on my table with my children helping at the moment. But they've been so popular, and the feedback has been phenomenal. The photos that we're getting through, children sleeping at night, children just being calmer, changing the feelings about that deployment and that they feel recognized and seen. And, and they say that this is the first time that they've really felt seen in a deployment. So this is really, really lovely. I mean, deployment packs aren't necessarily new. They're not a new concept. We've supported the Royal Australian Navy with their deployment packs that they do on their ships for certain ships. And we've added some things into those deployment packs. But I think with this is that we opened it up to all military families. It wasn't
Yeah.
just, certain like criteria. So we're still tracking. We've got a huge list. We're getting through the list. We've also been doing bereavement packs as well, which is incredibly sad.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of children that have lost their family members recently, so we've been doing those also. So it's something that I think we feel very privileged to be able to do and to help these children get through their tough times, and also just celebrate how amazing they are. The military kids are the most amazing children. They accept everyone. They make friends wherever they go. They put they have a life of service. So I think that this deployment pack is something that is amazing. And if there's corporates out there who are interested, like, absolutely get in touch, because we've been really, really fortunate. We've had Defence Health come on board, and they've been supporting to send these up, because to send a pack, it's extremely expensive. Just because the weighted koalas are nearly 2 kilos each, so you can imagine how
Just the postage.
expensive. Yeah, it's the most of it is actually the cost of the postage. We've had WorkSet come on board. We've had APOD support us. They've been phenomenal. Women in Defence Association. So we've had these amazing people come on board and say, how can we support you to get even more military packs to these children? And, communities answered. So, and we've even had families come out and just randomly put donations into our charity. Like, it's just been phenomenal. So we feel very supported. We're very lucky.
In terms of the uh, going back into a few business terms, the size of the opportunity here,
Mm.
where do you think you are in terms? So, oh, sorry, I'll go back. Are you maxed out in terms of what you can achieve at the moment? With the funding that you've got.
Um, it's a good question. No, because
What
I
I'm,
think I think we'll always, like, we will always do this, Pete. Like,
yeah.
so this is my core. Like, I will always find a way to make this work. However, um, do we need more money? Yes. Do we
Yeah.
need financial support? Absolutely. Because it will limit, the financial aspect will limit what we can do financially. Yeah.
So, do we know how many defence kids there are?
So, yeah, there's quite a few. So I think we worked it out. Well, they're saying there's in the millions, because of the, like, if you talk about all
Yeah.
military children, veterans included, reservist children included, there's millions. I mean, there's a lot. And I think they said, what is it, 2.8? I don't know how they get 2.8 children per family. So on average, so
Straight, yeah, straight up. I think there's like 600,000 or something
yeah,
alive veterans at the moment across the
that's
spectrum. So
right.
there's at least over a million people there. But
Yep.
I never really sort of clicked at that in terms of looking at it right back like that as well. In terms
Yeah.
of, so, and I think there's, again, the ADF at the moment is about 60,000 people. So,
Yeah.
we're looking at probably 120, 130,000 kids,
It's huge. And just to give you an indication, our reach on social media is 26 million. That's our
26
reach.
million.
26 million on social media, because
Wow.
we have one of the loudest voices in our community. Military families, military veterans, they're loud, right? So when we do a post, it goes to up to 26 million people.
Wow, that's brilliant. I might get
It's a
more than three. I
huge.
might get more than three listeners to the podcast if you
Yeah,
put it
you
out there.
might.
How good's that?
You might. Well, I mean, it was interesting. So, even recently, like, I did a post about a private sponsor, and
Yep.
it went to 25,000 people.
Wow.
And it wasn't anything flashy. It was just a nice thank you post.
What? Just I want you to go back and just shout out some of the people that are actively engaging and looking after you at the moment. So, have you got any other volunteers or any other people in the community, working with you on this project? 'Cause I think, let's throw some recognition out there.
We've got amazing people behind us. So we obviously have a very strong board. So we've got Kelly Hopkins, she's from Hayes. My
That's
partner,
amazing.
Brad, is on the board. Julie Hall, as you know,
Yep.
very well, she's from Combank, she's on the board. We've got Dan Richmond. We've got Rebecca Zannel from Tyndall Gas Bentley Lawyers, who actually set up the charity for free for us.
Yep.
So they're a really good law firm. So she's there. We also have Anna Nolan, who's our finance, Miranda Van Hoof, who's from Gallipoli Medical Research and on our
Yes.
Veterans Advisory Council. Yep. So that's our board. So our board is very, very well connected people, and also good people, which is important. And we've got an ambassador program. So we have the Deputy Chief of Army, Major Chris Smith, is an ambassador. We've
Yep.
got CDF's advisor, Ken Robertson, as an ambassador. We have, who else have we got? We've got Olivia from an Avantia. We've got Jake Bostock. We
Yep.
have Jason Fraser from Axon. We have so many. We've got another. announcement. Oh, we've got Mark Beretta, Channel
Ah,
7.
yeah,
Pretty, actually, I feel
fantastic.
like that probably should have been number one. He's pretty bit of a big deal. But we've got another ambassador that we're actually going to announce. Actually, when is this coming out? Can I, if I announce it now,
Well,
will it
I
be
think
tomorrow?
this will come out probably mid-August.
Okay, great. So I'll talk about her now then. So
Yes.
so we've got a new ambassador. Her name's Riley. She's from America. She is part of the American bobsled team. She's also
Oh,
current
wow.
military service. She's a Marine. She is phenomenal. She is an author. She wrote her own book about being who you want to be. And she is just phenomenal. So we've got her. We've also got Dan Ewing, who was from Home and Away, Heath Braxton. We also have Jacob Turner, he's an actor as well. And we have Kylie Riddle, who was also on many, many shows. She's an actor as well. So we have really
That's some
amazing people
serious
behind
people,
us.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I
like
know,
heavyweighers in industry. Yeah.
and I've thrown you on the spot there, and it's a little bit like an award speech where you're bound to have forgot someone or two there. But it just really is for me like I'm very lucky and very similar to you that the veteran business community, is my purpose now, and this is the space that I, have the pleasure to work in every single day, to support the community. And in terms of birds of a feather, we've just been so aligned in terms of this
Mm,
space because ultimately, the reason that I do dedicate my day and my life to the veteran business community is purely because of the people within it.
yeah.
And it's just the same with you. And for you to have that large cohort of supporters is just absolutely fantastic. And you know, I'm only going to call out two people there. Like so, Julia Hall, who's just always a champion of mine and someone that I really admire, and Big Buster, Ken Roberts,
Yeah.
Ken Robertson, like he, a mate of mine from basketball, back in
Yeah.
the ADFDA basketball days. Um, you are absolutely correct that you've been surrounded yourself with not just impressive people, but amazing people.
Absolutely. And I think it's important. Like what it does is it showcase one, the strength of our brand, but also it shows that, there's value in what we're doing and we're
Yeah.
making positive impact. So because these people wouldn't put their name to it if we weren't having such an amazing impact.
Absolutely. And it's so important. Like I don't know why. I think we need to absolutely lift recognition of families
Mm.
altogether. I think from the military perspective, we are very, very fortunate to have, DVA, for example. A lot of countries around the world don't have that kind of mechanism or structure. And, I know a lot of people, DVA is not a perfect facility or, nothing or nobody is, but we are lucky to have it. But I always feel, families are just that untapped source of capability, and
Yeah.
it's one thing to look after them because it's the right thing to do, but how are we looking after them because it's the smart thing to do from a capability perspective as well. If I, if my life took different turns and, well, like the military's never going to facilitate families totally, we can't expect that, but I think we always just need to aim to be world class.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's so many opportunities. We have some really amazing people in the veteran community who are military spouses. I mean, Gwen Cherney, look at what she's done. Sandy
Yeah.
Larks and Sharon, oh my
Um,
goodness.
yeah.
Annabelle from Legacy CEO, phenomenal people. Like these are big voices who have made an impact and who are really changing legislation.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Intelligent, sophisticated, out there women who are doing this whilst doing the whole, family life and whilst juggling kids and juggling diplomas and juggling time away. And as you said a bit earlier on, why wouldn't you want to, be involved and get these people into your organizations? Let's talk about a practical way that people can help you is literally just jump on the website and buy the merch. If you got kids, it's cool merch.
it is really cool. And as you said, like there's such cool characters and kids relate to them because they literally look a little bit like Disney. But
They
they
seriously
have that
do.
feel. Yeah.
Like, what was the name? Can you just go back and shout out the illustrator again?
Yeah, Nicole McKenzie. So look her up on Instagram. She's on Instagram, and she, in her free time, which probably isn't very much because she does author work as well, in her free or illustrated work, in her free time, she just draws pictures of like Bluey and Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse, and they're
Yeah.
phenomenal. Like you've got to see her work to believe it. It's unbelievable. Very
Yeah.
talented.
So get on there and jump on the website. What if you're so this is really, really important work, and it's not just
Mm,
corporate partners or big business that can help. So the probably the most simple and practical way is if you've got kids or nieces or nephews, jump on and have a look. You can buy the books. They
yeah,
don't have to be military kids because they're cool stories. And it's
yeah.
cool. And what you're trying to do is really share awareness around what military family life is about. But you can also jump on and just contribute in whatever humble or small way you are, just even if you're a family household. But let's talk about a bit of leverage and game changing. What are you looking for in terms of those corporate partners?
What are we looking for? Well, we're looking for, do you mean as in values or do you mean financial
Yeah,
or
like
as in
let's just go
support?
back into if because you mentioned something before. I personally think, and looking at the web page when you can see the Defence Kids,
Yeah,
book their Operation Snakebite Cove. That
yeah,
seems to me to be begging to be like, if not on TV, a YouTube cartoon or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
But to make that happen, you're going to have to look for the right partners to get
yeah,
involved with. What are you
yeah.
looking for to take that next step in terms of getting that animation going and happening?
Um, well, I think as far as values go, it's for us, it's a child brand.
Yep.
So it might not necessarily be well aligned to people that are making machine guns. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Like like that's the reality. Like we are a child brand. And it doesn't need to be, I guess, partners don't need to be child focused, but I guess they need to want to be involved in making change because
Yeah.
that's where we're at. We're about making change. We're also about making sure that children are supported. So it's, if you want to be a part of that, you want to be a part of the family story and uplift children and families, then, have a chat. I mean, it doesn't need to always be financial assistance. While that is great and we love that, and that gets us to the reach further, it could be as simple as you said, going on our Facebook page and sharing our posts or in doing introductions for us about to people that you think would benefit our cause. Do you know somebody that is in a licensing like a Netflix or somebody who you think, well, this could be a good pathway. Like, do you know that person? Is it worth, setting up a time to have a conversation? Because I think that's where our community is at its strongest, is introductions and bringing families and people together. So, look, I think that corporate sponsorship is always going to be important. But to be honest, we're also doing, as I said, deployment packs. So, can your company pay for some sensory items to be included in the pack rather than paying for finance? Like that makes a difference. Can you contribute to a family's day? Can you provide food for the family's day? Can you sponsor some ice creams for some kids? Like it doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be big level stuff, right? We're boots on the ground people. So for us, all help is helpful.
Yeah. Love it. Again, I just can't endorse more. Just get on the website and check it out, and check out what a great quality pack this is, but also the brilliant work that Haley's done. Now we're going to put all of your contact details down there. How to connect with Haley on LinkedIn. How to learn about Defence Kids. Click, like, share. Please just follow their stuff because it is great. Um, I just want to like wrap up with one last question, and I don't know if global domination is the right word, but this is a
We use global domination
Oh,
all
you
the
do?
time.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's ride that bluey wave. But
Yeah.
the where who else is doing stuff like this? Because it's got a very local Australian focus in what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
What interest or are you getting from foreign militaries and foreign military family groups about Defence Kids?
So we work closely in partnership with VetTix. So VetTix is a US charity organization, and they give out between 12 and 16,000 free tickets to military families per day in America. So we work
Wow.
closely with them. They have been amazing and have introduced us to some organizations over there. One of our other ambassadors, I call him Grogan. So he's in the States, in Hawaii, posted Hawaii at the moment. So he does a lot of contact and keeps us interconnected with the Navy over there in America,
Yep.
which is great. So we've had a lot of those superficial, I guess, conversations. I mean, look, it makes it hard because of the time delays, but we're definitely getting some really good partnerships, and we've got Riley coming on board now from America. So it's not going to be that long before all of our resources are in the States. I think that's not a big leap. The UK is obviously a bit bigger because it's harder to sort of find the right people to connect with over there.
Hmm.
They have a lot of different things, but a lot of our initiatives honestly come from the US and the UK. We're just replicating and putting an Australian lens on it. In saying that, they definitely don't have our cartoon characters or anything like this. There's no military children's characters that we could find in the world, really, that are like this.
Yeah.
So we're it. Um,
Oh, I think it's
yeah,
amazing.
we're unique.
First of all, well done. Well done
Thanks.
on just what an amazing vision, purpose. What
I had a
a
vision board, Pete. I had a vision
yeah.
board. Yeah, yeah. And all if you could see my vision board, it's literally world domination. It's like we want a cartoon, we want to be in the States, we want to be everywhere, like world domination, like we want to be seen everywhere. And you know what? It's rolling towards that. Like the reach of 26 million, it's gonna get there.
26
It's not gonna be
million.
long. Mm.
That is so cool. Well, I just feel like really, I I don't know you don't need me to say this, but I sort of feel really proud of you, in the sort of
Oh,
what you've
thank you.
achieved, particularly just because watching this thing grow from, just a little vessel and to where it
Mm.
is now. And I feel it's just on the cusp of,
Yeah.
really like it is something special, but it's on the cusp of something really big and really special. And for me, this is that I just love this story about business because ultimately, coming back to business, just to wrap a little bit, you're just solving a problem. You just hit a
Yeah.
little niche and you're just solving a problem. And that's what the essence of any great business is about.
I love that. Well, that's
Oh,
true. Oh, and I will say before I've totally forgot to do this that our website is getting upgraded at the moment. Well, actually, I say upgraded. It's changing phenomenal. It's going to be a hub, basically for all of our resources. And it's going to. So we're looking to also launch an app to go with it. It's going to be next level. So we've got Green Fox creating that for us, and Kelly
brilliant.
has been phenomenal. So if you need websites like redone, oh my goodness, Green Fox, they're a charity, they're amazing. Definitely look them up because once you see the website, you're just going to be blown away by how cool it is.
Now, she's partner or veteran herself? She's partner, isn't she?
She's a partner. Yeah, she's a
Yeah.
partner.
And the
Yep.
work, just a quick shout out while she's there, the work that she does, not only for the veteran community, but also working in jails and that.
She's
Again,
amazing.
another amazing purpose driven brand, but
Yeah.
not just purpose driven, high quality stuff.
Yeah.
She's an excellent marketer and brilliant at branding.
She created a 3D character of one of our characters and put it on the website, and it is phenomenal. So I can't speak highly enough about Green Fox. Kelly is phenomenal, and she knows her stuff. She just knows it, and she gets audiences. So wait till you see it. It's the next level. It's really cool. I'm
I love
excited for
it.
the launch.
Well, we're going to throw links to everything that we've chatted about today into the chat. Hayley, it's just such a privilege and a pleasure to just share 45 minutes an hour with you and to really get the word out there about Defence Kidz because, you know, this is fundamentally important stuff for really, really important people, our little kidlets. So thank you so much for sharing some time with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Let us know when that new website and all that is launched, and we'll get that and share it out as well. And from me, thank you to everybody that is getting behind Defence Kidz and Hayley to really make this thing, Go global. World domination.
World domination.
World domination. Okay, well, let's wrap it there. This is the Military Mindset for Business pod. Thanks, Hayley, for joining us. And my name's Pete Liston. Out.